Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a video about how to just get your village going in online gameplay. So I will not be discussing how to fast castle in online play, but I will be making a video on fast castle in the near future. So today we're just talking about how to get your village going, in what order should you be making villages, what order should you be building buildings, and when to build what, how many villages you should make before going to the Dark Age, what you should be doing with your scout, and also how to strategically build buildings around your village to ensure that you actually make it possible to use your houses and so forth to protect your village itself. So some detail we'll be discussing today, so I will not be playing at the speed I usually play at, so that I can actually give you just give a good discussion and a good explanation on why I do what. So the first thing we're going to do when I start the game now is we're going to immediately use our 3 villagers. On a standard game you start with 3 villagers and a scout, and we're going to immediately build 2 houses. So I'm going to deploy 2 villagers immediately with a shift and click on house, build 2 houses like that. While my first villagers I will use to then just get these turkeys as close as possible to my town center, so they are easy to harvest from there. So I'll start with my turkeys, and I will also start making villages immediately. That's sometimes also the first thing you can do, is to start making villages while you're all building houses. Next thing is I'm going to mark my scout, so I'm going to say control 1, so it's easier for me to get my scout whenever I need it. I'm then going to take my 2 villagers to also start well, whatever you want to call it, slaughter the turkeys and start getting food for that. So that's the only thing I'm going to focus on now, is to get as much food. So usually the first 4 villages you make should just be for food. Now it's important to immediately also use your scout to start exploring. So you can either manually explore like I'm doing right now, but a really fast and effective way of doing it is to actually take your horse, put in shift, and while you're holding in shift, start making flags. So in this order, my scout will now start circling my base, so that I can get a better idea of how my surroundings or my immediate surroundings look. Just this makes it easier to know where my weaknesses are in my base. We will be discussing how to identify weaknesses in your base, but I'll also be going into that in depth in a future video. So I've made 8 villages now, 4 from my town center I've made myself. So I'm going to start getting villagers now for wood. So usually I get 1 villager on wood itself, and the second villager I make I will actually use to build a lumberjack near a forest. So you can see here's a forest over here, so we'll probably deploy our or build a lumber camp right over here. Now you can see my scout is now automatically scouting my base, so it's always important to know what's going on in your surroundings. So I'm going to immediately put this villager to build a barracks. Now when you build a barracks, put it as close as possible in the beginning to do it, so that your villagers are efficient, so they don't need to walk far. Obviously keep in mind, when you start having more than 10 villages on a forest, it's better to have 2 lumber camps, because you don't want villagers to bump into each other the whole time. Because if you have villagers constantly bumping into each other, with time you're going to actually start to lose out on any food, on getting wood efficiently. So you can see I'm on my last turkey, so I need to start looking for more turkeys. I'm just going to do the circle thing again, just around my base like this. You can make it further if you want to, but I'm just keeping it simple for now. So you can see this is not good. This is one thing you want to always avoid, is not to have villagers idling like this. But obviously, because I'm explaining everything, it's not always going to be that effective. But when I will be uploading some online games that I play, and you will see that it's quite different. So we're just looking for more turkeys. Usually turkeys should be, or whatever it might be, sheep. And if you're playing Age of King, the African version, there's also new animals that you can hunt there. You can always make use of them. So as you can see, here's some turkeys over here, so I'm just going to bring them right to my town center so that they can also be hunted from there. So you can see I'm on 12 villages, so the next villager I make, I'm gonna actually use to build a house. So I want to build houses over here so I can also make a protection for myself. So as you can see, I'm just going to deploy my villagers onto that turkey. As you can see, I'm building a village like this, and another house there, and another house there. So it's almost like a second wall for my village. Now when you're on 13 villages, you should also look to deploy more villages onto Wood itself. Wood is really important for the starting ages, so I would always recommend getting us about 7 villages on wood and 7 villages on food as quickly as possible. And then from there on, you can just add a villager to wood and food till you have about 22 villages. And once you have 22 villages, you should be able to go to the next age when you have enough resources. So I'm just gonna build a mill now. Again, as you see, close as possible to the berries. And we're gonna now show you. I'm gonna show you now how to lure these boars from there. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna upgrade loon. Loon gives your villagers 50% more hit points. So this is quite important when you're hunting a boar. So you're gonna basically take one villager while keeping your other villagers ready, and you're just gonna click on the boar, and you're gonna wait for it to shoot once. And as soon as he gets the second shot in, you should get the second shot in like that. You're gonna take her back, and you're gonna deploy the rest of your villagers on that wall. So now that is gonna be 340 food that is for free, and you can harvest them. So you can see there is a second boar that I can also lure. So the right time to lure the second boar is about 100 to 180 food. So if there's 100 to 180 food left there, it's a good time to make a second one. So always remember, keep on making villages as quickly as possible. We've got more than enough houses now. Make sure your villagers are not idling by clicking on the villager button at the bottom right. So we're just making more villages now, and we're on 15 villages. So the target is 22 villages in total, so it will be 23 out of 30 up there, because remember, my scout, which should not be standing still like this, it also counts to my population. So now that I've actually scouted the immediate outside of my town, I want to maybe just broaden the shirts a bit more out, because you need to find out where your enemy is. So the easy way to know where your enemy is usually in the opposite direction from your base. So if you're over here like me, I'm sure my enemy will be over there. And if I was put on this side of the base, which is the east side, my enemy would be on the opposite side, which is the west side up over here. So that's just a general rule of thumb. It's not always correct, but it just gives you an idea. So I'm back to the ball. Usually while your hunters are still busy on the ball, send a new villager out already to get the second ball. This just makes you a lot more efficient, and you don't need villagers idling. So I will be making a video also where I'm just fully playing without really commentating that much, and you can just get a general idea of how fast it should be. Now you can see I've now got a villager here that's lost some hit points, and I've got another one over here that's also lost hit points. So the best thing to do with these villagers is to make them build a farm right at your town center. The reason for me stating this is, as you know, you can actually ring a town bell. So you ring the town bell when there's an enemy threat or enemy attack within your village. So what it has is this. Basically, all your villagers go in to the town center. It has a maximum capacity, so I won't be able to take all of my villagers. But first off, it gives your villagers protection from any attacks, and it also makes the town center defend itself. So there will actually be arrows being shot out by your town center to protect you from immediate enemy threats. So you can just automatically let the villagers out again, and if there's a threat, you just press the ring bell and everyone goes back. So you protect your villagers, but you must remember you're losing productivity time. So that's just something to keep in mind. So as you can see, they are busy on the ball. I've got now a total of, this is 3, 6, 7, 9 villages on wood. So I'm going to show you now. Check this horse. I'm going to ring the bell. There's not an immediate threat, but I'm going to just kill his scout, hopefully, so that I've killed his scout. So if there's an enemy attack, just ring the bell. It's always a good advantage to kill the scout. So I've found a nice amount of turkeys over here. So every map will have a certain amount of resources. You can actually set this, or it can just be on random. So whatever resources that are available, you should make off. Especially in the beginning of the game, you want to go for boars, you want to go for turkeys or sheep, you want to go for berries, because besides from building a mill or using villagers, they're actually free to get, while having a farm costs wood. So 60 wood in the beginning of the game is quite hard to sustain. So always go for the free food first before you target anything like a farm, which costs a X amount of wood. So in this case 60 wood. So we're gonna make 3 more villages, and then we should be ready to upgrade to the dark age, to the feudal age. So now the basic core and the fundamental that you should have with your base now is you should have villagers chopping wood, you should have villagers on berries, and you should start making farms. And then any wild animals that you are able to lure to your town center, you should start to hunt. So you can just see, here's the other side of my, this is where the enemy is. I've just started there on the map. So not completely like I said on this side of the map, which is the north side, but it's usually in that general direction. So you can see this time it's actually straight over from where my town center is. But it just gives you an idea in a 1 versus 1 where you can expect your enemy to be. So obviously this is a very important area for me to cover, because you don't want them to actually rush in the beginning. So I'm just going to build a wood wall now. And another thing you should be careful of, but also what you can do, is you can actually lure a villager through here and set up an army camp over here. So he's going to basically then be able to rush me from this side and then attack me from this side. So be careful for villagers that might slip through in online gameplay. People like doing it a lot, and it can cost you your game quite quickly. So be sure, and especially like a map like the Black Forest, to actually protect your base and cover up any holes where the enemy can get through. And the only way you're going to be able to do this is by actually using your scout and exploring the map as quickly as possible. It's like having intel. You need to have intel to know what strategy to follow and to counter any attacks. So we're going to make more farms. I'll make 3 farms, and I'll take about 2 villages just to start on these farms. So you can see I'm starting to work on a balance of having more farms, less villages on berries, because my berries are running out. And I'm now on 22 villages, so I'm ready to go to the next age. I'm going to take 1 villager here, and we're going to build a barracks. So the barracks I'm going to put over here. The reason I'm doing this is because where I'm expecting the enemy to attack from is over here. So if the enemy is coming from this side, you want your barracks to be over here so that you can immediately make units that are deployed in this area over here, which will be your defense from any attacks over there. So that's the reason why I'm building my barracks over there. I'm upgrading to the feudal age. To go to the feudal age costs 500 food, so not a problem in this case. But obviously when you're playing full out in the online gameplay, it can take a while to get 500 food. So this is just a normal upgrade. When you're rushing your tunnel, which is the sense that you're fast castling, you want to get to the castle age as quickly as possible, you usually go for 27 villages, because you will also immediately start getting gold. So as you can see, I'm going to the feudal age. I'm also going to start getting gold now, but only with 1 villager. So yet again, put it as close as possible to the gold. And that villager is not done up there, so you can bring her back. So what you can see is I have resources over here, which is also where I'm expecting the attack later on in the game. So if you have wood or gold in this area where the defense will be, it's usually the best to immediately make use of the resources rather in here, and then later to the center of your town center you can concentrate on getting the stone later on, because if you have a lot of attacking going on over here, you don't want your villagers to be getting stone still, because they will be killed easily and you will lose a lot of production, and that's a lot of stone. So I'm gonna first start by just getting this rock over here, and then when attacking starts over here, or when I attack him, I don't have any villagers that are obstructing my army, or the enemy can't kill my villagers, which will just cost me resources. So I'm in the feudal age now, so it's a quite important age. I'm going to immediately start making more villages, and the first thing I'm going to do is build a barracks, a blacksmith, and a town center. And I usually build this at the back of my base so that it's protected. So where your defense is gonna be, build your what do you call it, military buildings. And also I'm gonna start making my archer building. The rest of my villages I'm gonna put on wood. I'm gonna just go to town center. Watch my previous video if you want to understand what this farming thing means. I've done it in a previous video. So as you can see, wood is now a problem because I'm starting to build a lot of buildings. That's why wood is so important to get in the dark age already. So I'm trying to make as many villages as possible now. We will also be looking at which upgrades you should be doing. So as you can see, I can actually double axe, which makes my villagers chop wood 20% faster. But it's not as straightforward always. So when you're fast castling, for example, you will not be doing this. But because I'm just doing a normal age job, I'm gonna do the double bit axe, which will make my villagers chop wood 20% faster. But it's not always as straightforward and simple as that, but I'll dig into that in future videos. So as you can see, I've started now to just build a lot of farms. You can also put your farms next to the mall. Obviously these villages are a bit more exposed to enemy attacks, so I want to build too many farms in this area. I would rather put the farms at the back of my area. So put your villages where they are safe at the back, and put your military buildings and your military units in the front line where your defense should be at its strongest. So I'm gonna put another 2 villages over there, which will go to gold, because now gold is also gonna start being important. So now you wanna micromanage your villages to ensure that they're actually getting gold, stone, food and wood at the same time. So it's not always an easy thing to manage, but it's quite important to do. So I just need to build more houses. Always stop and stay on top of your houses. You don't want to get this notification that you need to build more houses, because then you lose productivity. So as you can see, my market and my blacksmith has been upgraded. Now important thing to go do is quickly just to look what civilization are you. So I'm the Franks, so I can see castles cost less, cavalry cost 20 more hit points. So just by looking here quickly, I think I'm gonna use my stable. So I'm gonna make a lot of horses, knights, because that is the advantage that my civilization has. And then to make castles will also be cheaper. And then so I'm gonna concentrate on getting at least 5 to 7 villages on gold now. So you can see I've got 2 villages at the moment, so I need to make another 5. And then I will get another 2 villages on stone, so that I have a total of 3 villages on stone. And then I will usually have 1 to 4 units building houses. So depending, especially in a fast castle, you want to use a lot of villages to build the buildings that you need for a fast castle. But like I said, I'll do that in the next video. So as you can see, I'm just keeping my farms close to my town center, keeping my wood choppers at the back. So you want to protect your resources as best as possible. And another thing I'll show you when I go to castle ages with actually heals. You can actually use heals to advantage. So when we go to the castle age, I'll be explaining that in greater detail. So I need another villager now to go and build a stone wall. So if you're the Huns, you can't build stone walls, but with the Franks you can. I'm gonna build a stronger wall now, while still keeping my wood wall there. And then just another gate so that I can actually easily get through without him getting through. And then it's also a good idea to build a watchtower. It's not compulsory, but it's just a good way to defend your town center and your side of the map where your village is. So I'm just gonna keep on exploring also. So I'm gonna make another 2 villages for stone. I need to concentrate in building more houses. So let's just get this villager to finish that house. She hasn't even started. Just build more houses. There's actually more strategies you can use to protect your villages when an online player is rushing your base. I'll be showing you what a rush is in a future video. So there's a lot of different gameplays you can use in the game. But for now I'm just going to stick to the basics. Just show you how to build a village. So to go to the next age, which is the castle age, you actually need to have a market and a blacksmith. And with some civilizations you need to build an archer tower or a stable. But for this video I'm just going to say for your market and your blacksmith is the most important before you can unlock to go to the next age. So as you can see, I can also use the wheelbarrow to speed up my villages. This makes them 10% faster, but it also costs food and wood. So I'm going to upgrade it. This will make my villages more efficient and also more productive. But if you're doing a fast castle, you should not concentrate on doing that. But for the type of game I'm playing, which is a normal age up, it should be perfect. So you can see I'm on 38 villages. Usually at 40 villages I will be going to the castle age. I'm not gonna upgrade my stone. So basically what you can do is you can upgrade your stone mining by 50%. But I only have 3 villages there, so it doesn't make sense to do that. While on my gold I have about a total of 7 villages. So an increase in productivity there makes more sense, because you need to keep in mind how much food and wood it costs. So if I have 10 villages, for example, this upgrade in my research for gold mining will actually mean that I have effectively now 11 villages. So you should do the upgrades in some instances, and other times it's better to leave it alone. So always be careful when you see a wall like this. Sometimes units can actually still slip through. So if the wall is put like this, it's a good idea just to put an extra wall over there, just to be sure that the unit can't get through there. Now I'm gonna just make my last 2 villages, and what I usually do is more to the back of my base I make another archery, and I also make another barracks. The reason for me doing this is you can now actually make units every year while upgrading your units every year, and vice versa. So this is a good way to keep your base efficient and working smoothly, because Age of Empires is all about micro and macro managing your town center, your villages, your battle units. So it's always important to just be as productive and as efficient as possible. So as you can see, I have a lot of villagers chopping wood now, but also they're starting to chop in, so there's a gap growing there, meaning my villager has to walk over there and back. So that's about 5 to 8 seconds I lose per villager. So what you do is you just build a new lumber camp as close as possible to the forest. This is just to ensure that your units stay efficient and productive. So I'm going to the next age now. So while I'm going to the next age, I'm gonna start upgrading and doing some research. So I'm gonna start with my skull barding armor, because I'm gonna be using a lot of knights. So I want to make sure that my horses will have extra armor and extra hit points. So because I'm going to be making knights, I will also be building another stable. It just makes my villages a lot more efficient. So as you can see, I've got my basic village now going, and while I'm going to next age, I'm gonna start making just basic army units. So these are more just to protect me from any rushes or early attacks in the game that I might not anticipate for. So you just want to always have a plan B. Usually when you go into feudal age, you should start making army units. I forgot about them a bit now, but just keep in mind you need a small army just to protect yourself from any small attacks in the beginning of the game. So I'm gonna start making a second gold camp, because now that I'm going to the castle age, gold's gonna become extremely important, especially because I'm making knights. Knights are gonna cost a lot of gold, and to upgrade my knights will cost even more. And to go to the next age is gonna cost a lot, depending which civilization you are in. So there's a lot to keep in mind. That's why the gameplay is always different for each match, makes it a lot more interesting. So when you see what I'm doing here, you can copy it, but always remember to improvise, and remember that each time you play it's gonna be different. So you need a foundation to play from, but just remember and keep in mind that how you play is going to be very important. I'll also actually be doing a video of how to put your farms more effectively. As you can see, I haven't put my farms perfectly, but they're close to perfect. But there's a way to make use of the most space possible, so that you have a lot of villages near your town center that are using farms. But we're just going to put my last villager over here. So we're in the castle age now. So the first thing I'm going to do now is make about 3 villages. And these villages will be used to build. While I'm doing that upgrade, I'm going to also upgrade my barracks. I'm also going to upgrade my gold units again, so that they'll just become faster and more efficient. And I'm going to build my castle now. Now you can build your castle wherever it allows you to. But as you can see, here's a hill and here's a flat land. But when you put your castle on a hill, it actually has a better range, so you have advantage from any units coming in from this side. So always a good idea just to build your castle up there. It just gives you that small advantage over the enemy. So usually about 3 units is sufficient to build a castle, because it does take quite a while to do the upgrade. So as you can see now, I'm going to start making knights. They look like this, and for now I'm just going to make a couple of them, and then I'm going to use my second stable to actually just upgrade them to increase their speed. So my knights will have better speed. I'm going to go down to my blacksmith, and I'm going to upgrade the foraging, so that just increases my infantry's attack value. So always remember to do the correct updates or the correct research, depending what civilization you play and what type of enemy or type of troops that you make. So while that is actually doing, I'm also going to build a monastery right at the back. You need to protect your monastery, especially if you have relics inside. You can remember from my previous video I did speak about how to use relics. So now I've just made a basic base. So in my next video we will be continuing this same exact game, but I just don't want to make the videos too long, so maybe watch this video and then later on watch the next video, which I will be making, and we will be playing the rest of the game. So I'm just, before we save and before we end this particular video, I'm just going to make more villages on farms. So you can see I've just built 3 more farms. I'm going to delete this lumber camp because it's going to be in my way, because what I want to do now is I want to make 2 more villages. I want to build a mill over here, so that these villages over here can just go to this mill directly. And then I'm also going to start making a second lumber camp, but also close. So the second lumber camp is also going to be close, but it's just going to improve the efficiency my villagers have with carrying the wood back to the lumber camp. So you can see I've 2 now, so my villagers will spread out a bit more. They will have more than one option of where to take the wood. And as you can see, I'm making horses now. My castle is now being built. So my are throwing axemen, so I'm gonna combine my throwing axemen with my knights. So I'm making my speciality unit for my civilization, and then I'm gonna take that villager, and we're gonna build what you call a siege workshop. So this is also units you can potentially use. I don't think I'm gonna use them for my attacks, but I'm just showing you everything that you should be building and can build. Now this is important to do all the important upgrades. So in the next video I'll be continuing this game, and I will show you how to build your army, make sure that you've researched your army efficiently. We'll go to an Imperial Age and it will actually do attack on my enemy. So remember to subscribe. If you have any suggestions, just leave them down in the comment section. Remember to like the video. I'll see you in the next video. Just follow my playlist. I'll put a link up for the next video also when I upload it. So till next time, see you again. Cheers.